Are you thinking about opening a restaurant, a food trailer, or maybe just getting into the catering business? I'd like to share with you a couple of things because I've been there and done that on the restaurant and on the catering side of things. And I'd like to share with you 5 things that you probably should consider before you jump into it. Right now is a really great time to get into the catering business. There's a huge demand for it. Lots of opportunity out there for those who are willing to work at it and who are willing to get out there and hustle. But I want to encourage you to do it the right way. There's a lot more to it than just being a great cook and producing great quality barbecue in your backyard. To do it right, you really need to treat it like a business. There's going to be a lot of things you need to know and a lot of things you need to understand and to implement. For example, the meats don't just show up in your front driveway. Yes, you can order them and that will happen, but that's not all there is to it. You're going to have to do a lot of shopping, a lot of selecting. You need to look for all your ingredients. There's a whole lot of work doing the prepping side after you run around and gather all your ingredients together. Then you got to figure out how to hold it after it's prepped. Then you got to cook it, figure out how to hold it after it's cooked, unless you're cooking on site. Then you got to figure out how you're going to transport it, whether it's cooked or not cooked, and what you're going to transport it is very important too. So here's 5 things I think you should really give some serious consideration, or if this is something you would like to do. Here's something you really should consider. I was told this before I jumped in the restaurant business, but I didn't listen either. Did you know that restaurants have historically been one of the #1 failure businesses in this country? So keep that in mind as you're considering some of these other things we're going to discuss. There's a big difference between restaurant, vending on the side of the road or in a location out of a trailer, and even pop-ups and catering. If you want to open a restaurant, what we call a brick and mortar business, you're going to have to apply for all kinds of permits and licenses. There are codes that have to be followed. There are licenses that must be acquired, and there are permits that you must have. There are lots of reports you have to fill out for each one of those entities as well. In most cases, you're going to need a rent or a lease agreement for a building. Now, even if you're in a food trailer, right here where I live, before you can get a health department permit to be able to sell food on the side of the road or at a location, you need a minimum of a 1-year lease agreement. And the list goes on, but I think you get the picture. Number 3, if you're just going to do private catering, and this is one of the first big pluses, you don't have to have a lease agreement, you don't have to have a location. In most cases, private catering, I would definitely recommend that you get a food handler's license. There is some training involved in that. There are some do's and don'ts that I think are really crucially important, and you do have a fiduciary duty to serve the best food that you can, but also in the most safe possible manner. You see, there's a lot more that goes into serving food to the public, whether it's vending in a restaurant or even in private catering. I know you want to serve food that you can really be proud of, but it also must be done in a safe and sanitary manner as well. All right, number 4, you also need a really good bookkeeping system so that you know what your costs are and what your profit margins are. This last couple of years, food prices have gone up, they've gone down. There's some things you can get, some things you can't even get anymore that used to be available on a regular basis. So again, with a good accounting system, you'll be able to know if you did or didn't make a profit. You don't want to do all that work and then wind up not having a profit. You see, those are some of the reasons why a lot of restaurants and trailers fail. It's a lot of work. Number 1, they don't make a profit. Number 2, it's a heck of a lot more work than they realize. And number 3, it takes a lot of time to do the catering business, the restaurant business, and the food trailer business. That's the part a lot of people don't realize. You don't just show up and cook. You got to do a lot of running around. You got to do a lot of finding of ingredients, inventory everything. You have to stock everything. You see, owning a restaurant, owning a food trailer, and even a full-time catering business becomes a lifestyle. And you have to be consistent with everything you do, and you have to be on top of everything you do. You have to have everything organized. And again, you do need to make a profit. When everybody else is out at the wedding having a good time or out at the beach partying on the weekends, you might have to be working. And number 5, you're going to need some really good equipment. There's an old saying, buy it nice or buy it twice. So don't skimp on good quality equipment. You're going to need some cambros. If you're catering, you're going to need some tables, tablecloths, some good tongs that are not going to fail you at the moment. You need some good knives. You need to make sure they're sharp when you get there. You need to have plenty of napkins and or hand sanitary things. You're going to need to have something to transport all these things, you know, the cambros, the tables, the food, whether it's cold or hot. You need to have something to transport. It can be a pickup truck. It can be a van. If it's a pickup truck, you might need a camper because what if it rains? What if it's really cold outside? Now, if you do get into the catering business, here's a pro tip. Chafing dishes are much better and easier to use than food warmers. Food warmers, you need electricity. They take a lot of amperage. They will blow circuits left and right. Trust me, ask me how I know. Been there, done that too. Chafing dishes are also much easier to transport. You can keep them in their original boxes and stack them and arrange them in a manner where it's easy to transport. They're easy to wash, easy to clean because they're lightweight as well. All right, now number 6, just remember that food safety is always going to be paramount. Because of that, if you're going to do it as a business on a regular or full-time basis, I highly recommend you get some liability insurance for your business. We do live, unfortunately, in a very sue-happy society, so you always want to make sure you cover that base before it ever becomes a problem. If it ever did, hopefully it never does. Harry and I catered for many years, and we were fortunate that we never had an issue because we did take the food classes and we did follow all the safety procedures that were taught to us. Now, in most cases, if you have over 30 people that you're serving, maybe 40, you're probably going to need a team. I would highly recommend that you have a few people to help you out and hire people that know what they're doing and know how to do the job that you're hiring them to do. Anybody can use a spoon or a tongue to serve the plates, but when it comes to cooking, as you see in the video that we're sharing with you today, I hired some friends, Tony and Sandra Garza, for this event. There was an opening day for White Wing. This company from up north hired us because they wanted to entertain a lot of their clients and their friends. So I hired people that knew what they were doing. Tony and Sandra did a great job with the carne guisada and the pan de campo, and I hired a lady that knows how to make tortillas professionally. I hired my mother to help us keep things organized. Terry helped me keep things organized, and I grilled some foods over open fire. It was like a machine. We were a really good team. So I would encourage you to find a good team and hire people that know what they're doing and pay them well so they'll come back and help you again. Now, also keep in mind, it's a lot of fun if you enjoy doing it, if you enjoy cooking. We've always enjoyed it, but it is a lot of work. And so you always got to keep that in mind. As I mentioned earlier, it is a lifestyle, it's a lot of work. And if you're going to do it as a business, it's going to be even more work. So always keep that in mind. You got to love it if you're going to really do good at it. You want to make sure that you get everything in writing when you're discussing catering with a client. Everything you discuss, everything you agree on, make sure it's in writing. You don't want any of that he said, she said. You want it in writing. That way there's no misunderstanding. They know what they're going to get. You know how much you're going to get paid, and everybody will be happier that way. Some catering companies like to get paid all their money up front. Some like to get half and then the balance due upon delivery, or the balance as soon as they show up. Some catering companies, because they do business with the same people on a regular basis, have a monthly contract. So it just really depends on how you set yourself up with that particular client. But again, make sure it's in writing. Very important. There's different kinds of caterings. You can do weddings, you can do events, you can do outdoor functions, you can do all kinds of different caterings for local businesses, just for office parties or get-togethers. Now, I'm going to tell you why I personally never wanted to do nor ever did weddings. But if you want to do them, they can be very profitable. Number 1 is the serving window. Usually in most weddings, there's a serving window from, say, 6 p.m. to 7 p.m., a 1-hour window. And I can't tell you how many times I've seen where people always show up late and they still want to get served. You're trying to load up and leave, and then the groom, the bride, might come and basically harass you and tell you to please take care of these people because they're special friends or their family. And there you are trying to take care of those people after you already did what you agreed to do. That's the first thing I don't like about doing weddings. The other one is finding staff to serve at weddings is a little bit harder unless you're already an established full-time catering company and you've been doing it for some time. And then you have your regular people that help you and do it with you on a regular basis. But when you're starting out, it's a lot harder to find people because it's temporary work. And so it's just harder to get them to come to work for you. And sometimes they don't show up. And there you are on a Saturday night trying to cater this big wedding and not all of your people showed up. You talk about stress. That's the kind of stress I don't like. And then, you're basically working at nights, by the time you get all done, get everything packed up and loaded, back to the restaurant, back to your house to get everything unloaded and get it all cleaned up. It's just a lot more work at the end of the day, and even in preparation and going to the weddings, than I personally ever wanted to deal with. I always did fine without weddings myself. But if you do want to do weddings, and you're willing to work that hard and you can find the staff to help you do it consistently, they can be very profitable. So again, folks, catering is a lot of work, but you don't have to jump through as many hoops as you do for a restaurant or a food trailer. And they're a lot of fun if you know what you're doing and if you enjoy cooking and if you enjoy serving people and if you really get a smile when people pat you on the back or tell you how much they enjoyed the food you cooked for them. It really is a very rewarding career and a lot of fun. But again, remember, it's a lifestyle and it's a lot of work. It's not just cooking 1 or 2 briskets or a couple of ribs in the backyard. It's a lot of work. All right, friends, I hope you enjoyed this video and the few things that I outlined for you. If you have any questions, put it in the comments. I'll be happy to answer. And there are lots of resources online. All the health departments have their own websites where you can ask questions as well. All right, friends, hope you enjoyed this. Keep the smoke light, make it work, and we'll see you on the next video.